Hi guys, if you like this video, please smash that like button. Click subscribe because that really helps us bring you more videos. And don't forget to click the bell and you'll get notified of our latest videos, or otherwise you might miss them. Thanks for watching. We appreciate you.
Welcome back to the Mission RV Services channel. Today we're going to be doing proctology exams, but no, seriously. Well, kinda. We're going to give our water heater a colonoscopy. Sounds like fun, doesn't it? So what we're going to do today is, since we've been down in Florida, this is our own rig, and we are going to just basically, we're giving our internal of our water heater a good bath. We're giving it a pressure wash. And how we do that is we use, well, we could use a couple. So we could use a tool like this. This is from Camco. You can get it on the old interweb, and it has a valve to where you can adjust the water flow. Problem is with this one is, you see I've done a little repair on it, and because it cracked and it doesn't work that great. But the other thing it does, when you put water to it, it raises up like this. So when you put it inside the tank, really you're only hitting the back of the tank. So even when you're moving it around, it's always hitting the same spot. So over the years, actually not even over the years, because we pretty much did away with this one pretty quick, we switched to this one, which you can also get on the old Jungle website. And this one is a little better. So it has a tip that actually screws onto this end, but we don't use that. And the reason we don't is we get water out of this little jet here, and we get a pattern that sprays around. So when we're moving this around inside of our tank, we're actually able to kind of hit the top and bottom of the tank, and then we draw that in and out, colonoscopy, and we pull that out, and we're just cleaning the internals out. So what we've noticed down here in Florida, as we've been doing this for customers, is for some reason in the Atwood aluminum tanks, the water down here seems pretty aggressive to these aluminum tanks. We've already done some tank repair work, and yeah, it's just pretty tough on these aluminum tanks down here, which we don't see that in other areas of the country when we've worked on water heaters. So today we're going to be doing our own, and one of the reasons we're doing the video on our own tank is that we did this right before we left Michigan. We gave this water heater a good cleaning. We do it every 3 months. It's been about 2 months now, and we're curious to see what does our tank look like after 2 months, because we did this, our own tank cleaning, the week before we left Michigan back in October. Now we're here in beginning of December. So this will be a good snapshot of it's really been about 2 months. So we're curious to see what comes out of there, but there's some things you need to do first. So before you clean the tank, you're going to want, for an Atwood, on this particular one, it's going to use a 15/16 socket to get the plug out. So Atwoods don't use anode rods. So if you have a Suburban tank and you're doing this, you're going to use one of these little handy dandy anode rods when you do a tank cleaning. Now, these can go down to basically almost nothing and still be useful, but if you're cleaning your tanks every 3 months for the 10 to 15 bucks these cost, we just recommend go ahead and change that out. Unless it's in really good shape, then you might not want to, but it's definitely something you're going to want to check. So when you do a Suburban tank, this is how you're going to access and drain the tank out, but on an Atwood, it has a plastic plug. So we're going to be taking that plastic plug out. If you're having issues with your electric water heater and the electric side of the water heater, you might even want to, while you're doing this, you might even want to go ahead and change your electric element. We don't need to do that today, but some people ask us what these look like, so I thought I'd show you. It's I always use the Home Alone analogy when I'm describing these to people, because Kevin used one on the doorknob, and he expanded this out and he hung it on the doorknob and it turned it cherry red. But in reality, if you run this without water in your tank, this thing will get cherry red and just kind of snap. It'll disintegrate it, and it won't even work. So it would never allow it to run that long. I'm sure there's some out there that might, and I'm sure I'll get something in the comments saying, hey, I know a heating element that'll stay on for a long period of time, like in Home Alone. But on these, I know these snap. So make sure you have your electric element off. If you're running on propane, make sure you have your propane off, and make sure you're turning your water off at the spigot so you're not getting any water in the tank. So now we're going to take you right over there, and we're going to take our plug out, drain this tank, and we'll show you something we do really quick because we want to get the pressure out before we pull the plug. Otherwise, well, old Drew's going to be taking a bath, and we are filming this on a Saturday, so it's bath day. But let's try to avoid that. So come on over here and we'll get after taking this plug out. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to release some pressure off here. So I'm going to use my pressure relief valve. So since I'm doing a cleaning, it's also a good chance for me to check my pressure relief valve. So I have no drips or anything on there. So I'm just going to let a little bit of this water out. And all I'm doing is letting some pressure out of there, so I'm not way under pressure when I do this. So when I take the plug out, it'll restrict. There won't be any airflow. So I'll get a gurgle here, and then I can kind of back out of the way. Then I'll open this up and let that spray out. So as this is spraying out of here, it's also going to help me remove some of that sediment that may be built up in there. So get on there. I'm going to back up to the side a little bit here, just in case. Because like I said, I don't want to take a bath, but you never know. And it is hot water coming out of here because this was on before we're doing the cleaning. So we're getting close. You'll see more water dripping. And there we go. So now what I can do is I'm going to lift up my pressure relief valve handle, and it'll really allow a good flow of water to come out because the air is going to go in the top and let that water come out the bottom. There we go. So what we're really trying to do here is, by cleaning this, you're getting all that sediment out of there. You're getting things that can build up around the tank. So around the welds, you know, around the welds down here, those minerals and deposits can get in there, and they can get pretty aggressive over time, and they can do damage to the tank. They can also, chunks of it can get up into the exit valves. So you have one-way valves in these tanks most of the time. They can block those up, cause them to fail. So keeping your tank clean is super important. It should be, like I said, we do this every 3 months just to stay on top of it, keep our tank clean and working well, especially being full-time in a camper. You definitely want to do this more frequently. Maybe if you're just a weekend camper and you're out there, you're going to want to maybe do this a couple times a year. So you're not using the tank as much, but when you're camping and you're only a weekend camper, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to drain this after each camping trip. You want to get all of that out of that tank. So you don't want any water in there just hanging, getting stagnant. So whenever you do it, if you buy one of those wands, it's a good time you can go in and give your tank a colonoscopy. So that's what I'm calling it today. It's a visual, I know, but you know, I could do the Roto-Rooter, there's a lot of things we could call it. But so far the good thing is I'm not seeing a lot of sediment right here. So that's a good sign. Like I said, we did clean this a couple months ago. So we're not quite sure what we're going to get out of it, but we know a lot of the tanks we've cleaned since we got to Florida have been pretty rough. So a lot of that could be because just not a lot of maintenance has been happening. So let me go grab our wand here. Okay, so let me show you this. I'm going to show you the pattern we're going to get. So when we spray this, so this has a trigger. So when we go to spray it, you're going to see the pattern. I'll try to get it slow, but you can see how the water comes out. So as I turn it around, I'm going to get this as far into that tank as I can, and then we'll start turning it in there, and then we'll draw it back, and that gravity feed will bring that all the gunk and sediment, if there's any in there, out. So that other one, if I hooked it up and showed you, like I said, it would basically just kind of flips up and shoots straight back. And yeah, I'm going to get some movement out of there, but I'm not going to get as much as I would by using this wand. So we'll link this wand below, so you guys can, if you want to do this yourself and you need one, you can get it. So now we're going to put this in here, and All you're really doing is you're just moving this back and forth. Now, let's stop. You see already, we're getting all this mineral and gunk out of here. Now remember, this is a tank that was just cleaned 2 months ago, and I'm already getting these deposits. It's whatever's in the water here. So this is city water here in Florida, but this is the god-awfulest city water I've ever seen. And we spent the last few years in Texas where you can walk on that hard water. And that's at least well water, but this is city water, and this is pretty rough stuff here. So, and again, it does a number on aluminum tanks. And it does a number on anode rods, but that's what the anode rod's for. So we're gonna keep moving this around. So now, how long do I do this, Drew? Well, you keep doing it till you don't see that stuff coming out. But that pressure against the tank now is what is cleaning that out for us. So let's grab a chunk of this. So here, you can get a good look at it. It's brittle, it's hard, and that stuff breaks free in there. It gets up into your valves that supply your hot water to your camper or coach or travel trailer, whatever you're using a hot water heater in. And it can wreak havoc, but if we keep them clean, then it avoids that. So you'll notice every once in a while that I go up and I shut this off. So what I'm trying to do is hold some of that water in, and then I can let it build up a little bit as I'm pushing water into the tank, and then give a flush every once in a while. So I'm flushing it while I'm pulling it in and out of there. But if I can hold some of that air in there, well, it allows the tank to fill and not just completely flow out. It gives me every once in a while a good flush. So that's something you can do. So we're starting to get less sediment out now. So what we're looking for is we're looking to make sure this water is just coming out clear. So remember, this is the water that, you know, we bathe in, or we take showers in, and, you know, wash our faces, and there we go, we're getting more out. So you got to do this for a while. It's just keep blasting it in there and moving the wand around. Keep turning it, because you're trying to get that whole tank surface. We're getting a lot of that out of there, see that? So ladies, if your hair is getting a little frosty and frizzy, it's probably because you have hard water. So we use a water softener as well. And even with the water softener, we have a 3-filter system. We do a lot to try to minimize a lot of this, and you see we still get it. And it's good just to keep those, it helps keep your lines cleared out too. So you want to try to keep this out of your whole system. So the other thing too, as you're going, try to clear off the ledge. And the reason we want to clear the ledge off is we want to make sure that we're getting to the point where it's running clear. And by clearing that ledge off, we're seeing if there's new sediment or not coming out of there. So keep our door cleaned off too. But we seem to be coming out pretty clear now, so I'm going to run this through one more time. We're going to see what we get, and here we go. Okay, so our water's clear now. We're not getting any more sediment out of there. As you saw, we got quite a bit out of there for this being, you know, like I said, we regularly do this every 3 months. This was done just 2 months ago, right before we left Michigan, and wow, look at all that we got out of there. That wasn't even horrible compared to some of the ones we've done down here. But now let's go through the process of getting this back together, filling up the tank, and I'll show you an easy way to kind of burp the tank as we're filling it. But let's put our plug in first. Let me grab our wrench. Here's our plug. So this is the thing about Atwood Dometic water heaters. So these were Atwood, now they're Dometics. What we're gonna do, this plastic plug is actually a safety device. So if there's an issue where this tank is getting too hot, too much pressure, these threads actually will disintegrate, and that pressure, it'll blow this plug off and let the water out. So we see a lot of times where people will take this and they will put in like a drain plug. So they'll put a steel plug in there. That plug is going to fuse to this. And I know a lot of folks do it, but it is not a good practice. We don't agree with it. And it just, you're bypassing one of the safety features of your water heater when you do that. And please just be safe. Use the plastic plug that you're supposed to. Order the right one. Don't use brass. Don't use, you know, aluminum. You know, you're trying to save a step and make it easier by putting something on there to where you can just, you know, flip a lever, kind of like your pressure relief, so you can let water out to drain your tank easier, but you're actually removing something that's keeping you and your family safe. So make sure you're using the right plug, folks. All right, so we got that tight. Let me go over, I'm gonna turn the water on, and then we'll start the filling process, and I'll show you a way I use to kind of get my air pocket. So these tanks, when they fill up, they will have an air pocket at the top. So a way I found to just kind of get some of those air bubbles out with still keeping my air pocket is, as I'm filling it, I'll release some of the air. It just allows the tank to fill a little bit faster. But let me go turn the water on. I'll be right back. Getting ahead of myself. Okay, so now we've got our water on. Our tank is filling. This is a 10-gallon tank. So as it's filling, it's building up pressure in there. So because it's airtight, right? So it's going to the rest of the system, but none of the faucets are on inside. So one thing we could do to help air and just fill this up a little faster is we could go in and we could open one of our hot faucets to kind of relieve some air, or as I'm standing here, I can occasionally let out some air pressure. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to be diligent. I'm going to watch this, and when I see a little bit of water start to dribble out there, I'm just going to close it. Because remember what I said, at the very top of the tank there's a gap of air up there, and that's just so the water flows through. That gap is always there. It needs to be there. So after we're done with this, we would go inside. We would still turn our hot faucet on because it's going to burp some more air out of it, but a little bit less than it normally would. You know, when you first start up camping in the beginning of the season, you get that spit of air and water when you first turn on your hot or your cold, for that matter. You're going to get that. But just remember, once I see that, I'm going to close this valve. You have to make sure that's closed, because otherwise the water's just going to keep pouring right out of it. And you don't want that either. So another thing, while we're waiting for this tank to go, this is another good opportunity. You're spending some time with your water heater, is you can look and see, do I have any frayed wires anywhere? Does everything look good? Everything's plugged in, everything's tight and snug. I don't see corrosion around my board. So this is an Atwood, so the board is on the outside. This actually has like a coating on there to waterproof it. You know, do I see any kind of sediment dripping down because maybe this is leaking? So you see how that started coming out? That tank is now going to be full, and I'll still have to burp some air on the inside, but now that I know that I have the tank full and water came out of there, I know when I go back into the coach, I can run any little bit of excess air I may have out of my system. And then after I do that, then I will go in and I'll turn my electric element back on. If you run on propane, then that's when you would turn your propane back on and fire this thing up. Now remember, if you have a suburban water heater, you can run the gas and the electric at the same time, which will aid in a little bit faster recovery time. On an Atwood, if you turn on electric and propane at the same time, it will always default to propane. So that's just the way the Atwoods are made. It'll default to propane first, and you won't get as fast as recovery, but you do have an aluminum tank, which does heat up a bit faster than the stainless steel suburban tank. So, you know, give or take. And some of the new Domestics, they may do faster recovery. I think they did do some redesigns on the newer tanks. I'll have to look into that for y'all, but I know on this particular one, it will always default to gas over electric if they're both on. But being in a park all the time, we run electric, and that seems to do a good job for us. And 10 gallons is a ton of water, even when you're taking a shower, as long as you have a energy efficient water head. But other than that, we've wrapped up, and I hope you see the importance of giving your water heater a colonoscopy or a good pressure washing, and just getting that sediment on. So that's 2 months worth of sediment since we've been to Florida, and you saw it was quite a bit that came out of there. So imagine if you haven't done this on your water heater for quite a long time. So down here in Florida, we've already pretty much decided that we are now probably going to do this every month. We want to make sure we keep our tank healthy and happy, and make sure it keeps giving us hot water. Until next time, this has been Drew with Mission RV Services. If you found this video helpful, share it. Just send it out to the masses. We would love nothing more than that. But if you could just even click subscribe, it helps us a lot. Smash the like button. But until the next video, this has been Drew with Jen behind the camera for Mission RV Services. And we just thank you so much for watching us. And we'll keep putting these videos out until you tell us to stop.